I think one of the things that I felt really helped me was the capacity to kind of go back into the habits that I know have served me well over the years. So training hard, eating well, reading books and trying to gain an understanding and challenge myself physically and mentally. I think it was, Chris Williamson. He's got the Modern Wisdom podcast. So I think he spoke on, I don't know whether it was his podcast or another podcast where he spoke about kind of, what was it? Kind of talking about the challenges that you kind of bring to yourself in your life. What exactly was it that he said? Chose That's it. So he talked about the concept of chosen suffering and unchosen suffering. So unchosen suffering is going to come to pretty much all of us on this planet in some form, whether that's losing a family member, losing a friend, losing another loved one, losing a job or whatever it may be. And the way in which we can become a stronger version of ourselves to deal with those things better is through chosen suffering. So whether that's, for me, chosen suffering is training every day. That's pushing myself physically. That's reading. That's continuing to ask myself questions and be the best version of myself that I can be. These are all things that are quite uncomfortable in the moment and can induce kind of like a micro suffering, but the longer term impacts of that are really powerful. So I think all the habits that I've kind of cultivated over the last sort of 6 years really helped me, I think, to kind of get through this. And someone who also has wanted to have a relationship with God for so long. I think there's so many questions that you ask. You know what I mean? You think you always just trying to lean on on God's understanding and seeing where things were going to go. Like I was wanting to know what plans God had for my life, and you can't see it in the moment, but you just have to almost trust God in some kind of way, even though it's very very difficult at that time. And I think one of the understandings that I came to and I wanted to come to was that this is life. Unfortunately, these things happen, and they're going to happen to a lot of people. And I think one of the other books that I read alongside Man's Search for Meaning was a book called Option B by Sheryl Sandberg, and she's the COO of Meta, I think she is now. And she'd written a book with a psychologist, and it was all about her personal experience of losing her husband very suddenly while they were on holiday. And just that kind of visceral, that raw, unfiltered account of what she went through almost helped to validate what I was going through. So I was kind of thinking, because when it happened at the start, I was kind of like, how has this happened to me, kind of thing, thinking that this doesn't happen to other people because you're only in your own kind of mind, in your own space, and you're trying to figure things out. But reading what she had gone through, and then I went to read a whole load of other blogs about people, how was the process of them getting back into dating from being widowed and things like that. And you just really start to get a perspective of like so many other people's experience, and it just helped me to kind of gain clarity and almost make sense of what I was going through. And I wanted to really make a point of coming to a place of acceptance of it and continuing to live in her honor in many ways, and still be still live in purpose. And I'm with someone new now. I got engaged 2.5 weeks ago, which has just been,
Congratulations.
thank you, I appreciate that. Like, the most incredible woman. Like, she's such a character. She's just got so much character about her, so much love, and there's so much like, yeah, it feels weird in a way, because it's like I never thought that this would ever be the way that I would meet someone as incredible as who I'm with now. But I guess I've just got to be very, very grateful. And as I said, thankful for a lot of the things that I did, thankful for God for bringing her into my life. Um, and just, as you said, it's an ongoing thing. It's like, it's weird because it was her birthday on the Saturday, but the birthday also coincides with the day that I got married the first time. So it's a really interesting kind of juxtaposition, and thinking about different kind of emotions there. But I think again, this is just how my life is. I'm not trying to change anything. I'm not trying to, you know, try and avoid the reality. I think dealing with the reality of what's happened has been really helpful for me. And I think given all of that, I couldn't wish to be in a better place in my life, given everything that's happened. Like, just a lot of gratitude for where I am, gratitude for who I'm with, and excited for the future and family and things like that. So yeah, I'm really, really, really grateful.
And I appreciate you sharing candidly yourself, kind of, and the way that you've been able to be vulnerable and honest and try and yeah, like not shy away from those things and really try and move through. Would you say that like looking at yourself in the mirror and like how you conduct yourself and like your temperament and things, would you say there's been any kind of noticeable change in the last few years, um, as you've like come to a bit more of like a different reflection on life, on purpose beyond just like the day to day? Has there been any kind of like deep philosophical thing within you at all?
Yeah, I think there's definitely that element of, when, because it's weird, because I guess obviously the first time you ever think that you're going to see death is with your parents. You never expect that it's going to be with a spouse who you've just been married to for 6 months. So I think my perspective on life did there was a great shift in the sense that I'd kind of seen it taken away from someone. When people say, "Oh, life is short," or life is very fleeting. It's all kind of based off of maybe uh, kind of philosophical or a hypothetical belief. But when you actually see it, and when you have actually experienced it, you actually do realize that, yeah, it can just go in the blink of an eye. So it gave me that understanding. It also gave me more empathy as well towards other people, maybe going through similar things. Like, what I find interesting is that whenever I see someone, if they put something on Twitter about, oh, I've just lost someone or lost someone close to me, before I maybe wouldn't like connect with that, but I can connect with that because I've gone through that myself. And so I almost feel compelled to leave someone a message or a DM or something, just trying to encourage them, trying to show them that things will get better. Because, in that moment, I know exactly what that feels like. When you lose someone, you literally think the world is ended. That's just how you think. So yeah, I think that's something that I kind of understood, and also an understanding that everyone's experience of grief is going to be different. My experience is just mine, and that I think that's how I wanted to go through it and how I wanted to kind of overcome it. And everyone's isn't it's not going to be the same. It's not there's no right or wrong way to do it, to look at it. Some people might really struggle for a number of years or months. Some people may be able to come to a place of acceptance in a relatively shorter period of time. They're both right, because they're both the way that people are going to choose to deal with it. And I think, just touching on again the chosen suffering and a lot of the stuff that you do before, maybe the way that you see life before, maybe helps you when it comes to these difficult moments and how you approach it and your perspective and seeing it then. So yeah, I think that's kind of the way that I just wanted to deal with it. And I think, every day, just trying to be a better version of myself, and understand that, just life is short, life is fleeting. It's also very long at the same time, but just try and give as best as you can, and just do your best and show up as your authentic self every day.